This is Into the Storm, where winning starts within. The mental performance podcast for athletes, coaches, competitors, and leaders. No hype, no noise, just the mindset that keeps you grounded when it matters most. Let's step into the beam. This week, the sports world is filled with pressure. The knockout rounds of the FIFA World Cup, the closing stages of Wimbledon, the MLB draft, NBA Summer League, and every interview you'll hear kind of uses the same language. They stepped up. They rose to the occasion. They found another level. But I've never really completely agreed with that, because after years of coaching athletes, I don't think pressure creates something that wasn't already there. I think pressure reveals it. Pressure is like turning on a bright light in a dark room. It doesn't change what's in the room. It simply makes it visible. The same thing happens in competition. An athlete who trusts their preparation doesn't suddenly become confident because the championship game started. They're confident because they built evidence over weeks, months, and years. The game simply reveals that confidence. The opposite is also true. If your preparation has been inconsistent, if you've skipped routines, if you've negotiated with your standards, pressure has a way of revealing that too. That's why pressure feels so uncomfortable, because it removes excuses, it removes distractions. It asks one simple question: what have you really trained? And as a coach, I've seen athletes surprise themselves in both directions. I've watched players who were quiet all season become the leaders in the biggest moments. Not because they suddenly changed, but because leadership had been growing beneath the surface all along. I've also seen talented athletes struggle under pressure, not because they lacked ability, but because they'd spent more time hoping than actually preparing. Hope isn't a performance strategy, but preparation is. Think about your own life. Maybe your pressure isn't a championship game. Maybe it's a presentation, a difficult conversation, a job interview, a sales meeting, a college showcase, a ninth inning at bat. Pressure doesn't care what arena you're standing in. It asks the same question everywhere. What have you prepared yourself to do? One of the biggest mistakes I see is people trying to prepare for every possible outcome. You can't. You don't control every bounce of the ball, every official's call, every interview question, every client's decision. But you can prepare your response. That's where confidence lives. Not in predicting the future, in trusting your preparation. I often ask athletes a simple question. If the biggest game of your season were tomorrow, what routine would you trust without changing? Notice I didn't ask what you'd wish for. I asked what you would trust, because trust is earned through repetition. Every pregame routine, every focused practice, every extra rep, every decision to stay disciplined when no one was watching. Those moments become evidence, and evidence becomes confidence. That's why I believe championships are rarely won on championship day. They're won on ordinary Tuesdays, on rainy Thursdays, on mornings when nobody feels like training. Pressure simply cashes the checks you've been writing through your preparation. So one of the consistent findings in sports psychology is that confidence becomes more stable when it's based on preparation rather than outcomes. Athletes who define success by executing their routines are less emotionally affected by mistakes than athletes whose confidence depends entirely on results. In other words, preparation creates emotional stability. So here's today's coach's clipboard drill. Take out a notebook. Write this question at the top of the page. If my biggest opportunity arrived tomorrow, what routine would I trust without changing? Now list the routines you already trust. Then identify one routine you need to strengthen this week. Don't overhaul everything, improve just one habit. Because pressure doesn't reveal perfection, it reveals patterns. Train the pattern. Stop waiting for pressure to make you better. Let today's preparation make tomorrow's pressure feel familiar. Build routines you can trust. Build standards you don't negotiate. Build confidence through evidence. Then when the lights get brighter, you won't need to become someone new. You'll simply become more of who you've already trained yourself to be. If today's episode gave you direction, then share it with a teammate, a coach, a parent, or someone preparing for a big moment. And if you'd like practical mental performance coaching delivered every week, join the free Lighthouse letter at coachronmpm.com. Until next time, stand a little taller, breathe a little slower, trust your lighthouse, and remember, winning starts within. This is Coach Ron. No matter how rough the waters get, the beam is still on, and now you know how to find it. I'll meet you back here next time, Into the Storm, where winning starts within.
If you like the show, be sure to leave us a rating, review, and comment.